America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The harlot Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not.
Well, that show where we believe it.
Or maybe we don't.
How you doing today, Trev?
I'm pretty good. It's very hot, very warm.
Yeah. It's tis the season.
I've been sitting in front of a fan all day, and I think pretty soon I'm going to make a trip to get an air conditioner. Because what the hell am I doing? Yeah.
Yeah, if it's this bad right now, imagine how the rest of the summer is going to be.
Yeah. So it is June, so it is hot. But what else is in June, Damien?
Dads and grads.
Dads and grads. That is very true. And Pride Month. It's Pride Month.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. And dads and grads.
Well, I mean, they never shut up about it, those dads and grads.
It's true. They won't stop talking. I never knew what to get my dad for Father's Day because all the gifts were like around golf or sports. And
you get him a tie.
Yeah, he wore bolo ties.
Well, I mean, all you're supposed to get a dad is a tie. If you get him
true.
Anything else, then what's the point?
It's true. So yeah, it's Pride Month. So of course I thought I'd talk about kind of the history of the relationship between Christianity and the gays.
I feel like this is not going to be a good one.
Nope. No.
Okay, well.
So trigger warning. It's going to be a bit of a rough one. I also want to say, I think we're only going to scratch the surface.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, there's no way that you're going to be able to do more than that.
Yeah, this is a huge topic. I am not, I'm not an expert in anything we talk about, but definitely this is one where I'm going to miss some stuff, and please feel free to correct me or give your input. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
But so obviously the Bible's homophobic. There's not really any way around that. It says that if someone sleeps with another, if a man sleeps with another man, then that's an abomination and they should both be put to death. So that's pretty clear. The Bible is not very forgiving. Some would argue that the New Testament is a little bit more forgiving, but Jesus never talked about homosexuality, which is true, but Paul definitely did. So he talked about it quite a bit, but he was also kind of a prude, thought that any sex that wasn't for procreation was not that cool.
Right.
So that's kind of where some people who argue that, the Bible's actually not, the New Testament's not super homophobic. It's just he just had this view of sex or whatever. And, but yeah, other people say that because Paul talked about the thorn in his flesh, about this sin he couldn't shake. And some people think that that's because he struggled with homosexual, same-sex attraction.
Right.
So, a lot of people have theorized about what that could be, that he was talking about the sin he couldn't fight. He had trouble fighting. So some people think that means he was into dudes, but who knows? That's more speculation. But he does protest a lot. So
it's interesting too, saying that it is something that was in the Bible. I'm curious where that kind of homophobia initially stemmed from. I wonder what the climate was in that part of the world where these things were being written and put into place. Because I know that there are some cultures who are a little more open about it, a little more fluid about it, but I don't really necessarily know what the climate was at this time.
Yeah, because living around Greeks and Romans.
Right. Well, I knew it was for a while they had it where an older man would take a younger boy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And isn't that where the term platonic relationship came from? Because Plato's I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Oh, is that where? Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I heard. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. I could be completely wrong. But
And I think it was also seen as kind of a decadence thing, kind of a like that's what the rich people do, and it was also seen as that was a Roman and Greek thing, and we're trying to separate ourselves from them and do be holy and blah blah blah. And
it is funny that then the Romans took them over later, and then
Yeah.
there was the Holy Roman Empire. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that had to do a lot. There was some of that homophobia in there too, because as the Roman Empire starts to fall, they start to look for ways to fix it and stuff. And part of that is, well, we're so sexually active and that's so free. Maybe that's like part of the reason our culture is diminishing. So here's this religion that says all this stuff is bad. So why don't we adapt this religion? So
well, it's always things that they deem as like deviant behavior, right? It's something that they can point their fingers to and be like, see, this is why these things are happening.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that scapegoating thing. And there are some people who say that early Christians, besides Paul, were way more welcoming to the LGBTQ people, and especially like same-sex relationships, but it doesn't really seem to be the fact. Maybe tolerant in the fact that that's a culture that they were in, but not, and so you can't really like discriminate because you're not in a power to discriminate really, but also they weren't nice to them or like welcome them into their communities. So as the Roman Empire turns more into like the Roman Catholics, the church, it's more and more homophobic laws coming in and more like just outright bans and death penalties for homosexuality. But I guess there was a brief time in the Middle Ages where that wasn't necessarily the case. They were a little bit more at least turning a blind eye to same-sex relations, kind of not necessarily celebrating it, but there was a period of time where it was kind of just less persecution, probably because more powerful people were.
Right. When was this?
I don't remember actually when. And I do apologize for not writing down the date for that. But but then like if laws came about against sodomy and things like that, it was usually only used because they knew one of their rivals was in a same-sex relationship or was having sex with men, so that way they could use that to get that person.
Political leverage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
People empowered using these rules to benefit themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But as the modern era comes about, it's still people are still hated. Like you look at Oscar Wilde, he's thrown in jail. You look at like any kind of famous gay person through history, and a lot of them are just severely persecuted. Like, for example, even in World War II, the pink triangles on gay people in the concentration camps, even when like they were freed and the Allies came in and freed most of the people, they still kept the gay people prisoners. Yeah. And then so for a long time, homosexuality was considered a mental illness. So things like psychiatrists couldn't be openly gay because that they would be openly saying they have a mental illness, and you can't be a psychologist or psychiatrist if you have a mental illness. And so for years it wasn't necessarily like it was a fight between gay activists and Christians, because they were so pushed down that it was pretty much just underground. Yeah. And then
I can't imagine being able to like kind of process that. Like you're liberating like a camp or something like that, and you're freeing all these people. They're like, all right, you guys are all good, but not you guys.
Yeah.
Like how insane that must be.
Yeah.
Just to be like, we're here because we were trying to stop something that was very evil and very bad. And then you're just going to do the exact same thing to a certain group of people in this situation. It's hard to understand.
Yeah, it really is. And because I think there's a lot of separation too of like people not seeing this as this is who this person is, but they see it as, oh, this is an act this person is committing. So they see it more as like the act, and they like but it's still hatred either way. Like it's still,
Yeah. I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah. No, it's the thing is, it's internalized homophobia. And then we'll see as it goes further, you just use more and more. Oh, the Bible says it's bad, so I'm justified in my opinion. It doesn't go, you don't go into the Bible and say, oh, what does the Bible say? And then, okay, that's what my opinion is. No, you have hatred. And then you're like, hey, what's a thing I can use to justify my hatred? And, it's the same thing people use to fight against women's rights. Same thing people use to justify slavery. Like, yeah.
Now you brought up that one like little bit in the Bible. Is there much else other than that really delves into this?
No, like it never mentions lesbians.
Okay.
Like it's like they don't exist, probably because they didn't care what women do, because the Bible's also sexist.
Well, because they're not people or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They're property. So
exactly. And it also a lot of times it just lists it in a list of sins. In the New Testament, it's like there'll be a list of things you shouldn't do, and that's like one of them.
And it's done like a few times then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But
I'd like to see just like how much time is paid to it for something that is such a big deal to mainstream Christianity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because it seems like such a minute, tiny detail that could be one of those ones that should be very easily just kind of been like, what does this matter? That like, no, this isn't something that we're going to interpret in our way or whatever. But for some reason, I guess the big thing is probably, again, politics and power, right?
Yeah, politics and power, exactly. And then the civil rights movement is happening. And then obviously Stonewall. A lot of talk about Stonewall this time of year. And I think it's important to talk about it. I was reading a bit about it today. It's just like a crazy story because it was an illegal bar. It was like a mob run bar. And they would just pay the police off, but you can't pay all the police off all the time. And then they had these like morality groups that would like morality police basically, and then come in and like search trans people for genitalia, things like that. Like it was just awful stuff. And obviously then they fought back, and thank God they did. Thank all the gods that they did, because why is somebody hammering right next to me? Because they do construction during the day. I guess it's not quite 5 yet. But anyways, so obviously then, the gay rights movement really starts to take off. And then obviously so does the Christian rights opposition to it. So we got Anita Bryant. She was a singer with a few top 40 hits. What were some of her hits? She had a song called Paper Roses. And then she was also a Miss Oklahoma beauty pageant winner. Yeah, and she was a spokesperson for Florida Orange Juice as well. But then she started the Save Our Children campaign in 1977, where she spoke out against gay rights. She was very outspoken against gay adoption, and pretty much she fought against gay people being teachers because she thought that they wanted to be teachers so that they could,
well, the association of pedophilia and homosexuality was something very strong for a very long time.
It was. And that by design, like that's kind of like, you can't you can convince people, but like people with a working brain.
Oh, totally.
That like two people who have, two adults can make a decision about who they want to have consensual sex with. But so you switch the narrative to, no, it's actually, we're fighting for the children. It's like, but they're not.
It's always for the children with them. But it never is for the children for them. That's the thing. No. It's never for the children. It's for their beliefs. And then it's for their, like, they want to get a win some way. It's the same with like abortion rights. They don't care about the children.
Yeah. No.
They don't care about babies. As soon as that kid is fucking born, they don't care. They don't care if it's thrown into poverty. They don't care if it's thrown into a broken home or thrown into a foster system. They don't give a shit about any of that.
No, they don't. If they did, they would promote safe sex, and they would promote birth control, and they would promote like free daycare and things like that.
Yeah, they would promote things that help the child and young mother, but no, they don't give a shit about that. That's as soon as a kid is born, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with this. Like, they don't care about the kids. They just care about having a villain that they can persecute and then pass the blame. It's disgusting.
Well, because she was a spokesperson for Florida Orange Juice at the time, this caused a big boycott within the gay community for Florida Orange Juice.
Yeah, fuck orange juice.
Yeah. And of course, she teamed up with everyone's favorite Jerry Falwell.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. And yeah, the moral majority got on board for this one. You know, that the organization that started because they didn't want to allow Black people in their schools. Yeah.
What a fucking bunch of losers you got to be to call yourselves the moral majority.
Yeah. And when they call themselves the silent majority as well, it's like, you have never been silent. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, it's just again, that's the same. Like we're not allowed to say anything. There's a war on us. It's like, I don't know. You seem to be going on a lot of like, national platforms and speaking your mind quite open.
Exactly.
I don't think anyone's silencing you. Yeah.
Like people who say they've been canceled when they have their own TV show.
Yeah. I'm being canceled. Nobody's listening to me. It's like, well, I think your millions of people following you right now are listening to you.
I think they are. Yeah. So Jerry Falwell, of course, very outspoken against two people loving each other for some reason. And
probably because he's in a loveless marriage full of bullshit and sin. And he's just trying to pass the blame on somebody else.
Exactly.
That would be my guess anyway.
He once told a crowd that gay folks would just as soon kill you as look at you.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I'm sure he did his research on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like a couple years ago when Pat Robertson said that gay people in San Francisco walk around with little rings so that they can stab you with the AIDS.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. In the 90s, Jerry Falwell said that called Ellen DeGeneres Ellen Degenerate.
Okay. Well, I mean,
pretty clever.
That's not a bad zing, but but I mean, like, especially the ring thing, considering like how devastating that whole thing was for the gay community.
Yeah.
And just like the constant fear and death that happened there, to just be so trivialized in the sense is like, oh, they're trying to give everybody AIDS is.
Yeah,
it's really gross.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, though, even watching TV on Sunday morning, Jerry Falwell would be on it. He would always show clips from the Pride Parade and things like that, trying to show like how evil and degenerate these people are. There was no love in anything that guy ever did. Everything he did just was about hatred, and I think that was a good way for him to get an audience too. I think he thrived on that people liking him for saying the things that nobody else would say. I'm just speaking the truth or whatever. And it's like, no, you're just a hateful bigot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's always like a good cop out. Like, I'm just speaking the truth.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. Like, no.
It's just what the Bible says. Yeah.
It's not the truth. Open your goddamn eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the AIDS epidemic happened, obviously, and this gave a lot of fuel to evangelicals and to say that this is a punishment from God.
Sorry, I was just looking up Jerry Falwell, and I think this is a really funny thing that he had a lawsuit against Hustler magazine because they did a mock interview where they said that he admits his first time was with incest with his mother in an outhouse while drunk.
Yeah.
And that's why he sued them?
Yeah, that's why you see. Have you seen People versus Larry Flint?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. It's it's a good one. That's why I always referred to Jerry Falwell as actual movie villain Jerry Falwell. And actually, speaking of that, there's a new movie coming out called The Eyes of Tammy Faye about Tammy Faye Baker. And I saw the trailer today and it looks fantastic. And once again, the villain is Jerry Falwell because he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
And his son also not so good. So got a few of them.
Generational bullshit, right? They're following in the footsteps because that's where the money is.
Yeah, exactly. And
look at the Trumps.
Yeah. And the fact that Ivanka always said that she would rein him in and fight for women's rights and stuff like that. She never did any of that stuff.
No. But it's a good soundbite, and it makes people be like, "Oh, she's the good one."
Yeah, exactly. And of course, so Reagan is elected because of the moral majority and because of the Christian right. So, and then the AIDS epidemic is happening on his watch. Mm-hmm. So of course he does shit all to help these people who are dying.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was such a crazy time in the States for all of that too. Like you said, like with the moral majority and everything too. Like they didn't really seem to do anything with anything. Yeah,
it's true. Well, it's like how Trump responded to a pandemic.
Well, it was all pomp and circumstance. It was like I don't know too much about a lot of that, but I know a bit more like about the PMRC hearings in the 80s too.
That's true. Yeah,
like again, where it was just these outspoken Christian people who had husbands in power who wanted to complain about bad words, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's like there's some really serious shit happening right now, and this is what you're making a big deal out of?
Yeah, exactly.
Like people are dying, people are getting sick, and you're making an issue about music lyrics.
Yeah. And in 82, Larry Speakes was the press secretary for Reagan, and a reporter asked him about whether or not the president was tracking the spread of AIDS. And he started laughing, and he said, "I don't have it. Do you have it?" And then that's how he responded to it. And then everybody started laughing. And then he said, "Do you? You didn't answer my question. How do you know?" And it's like, yeah, this is just a gay thing. Like, haha, let's just move on. And
that's what they referred to it, didn't they, for a long time?
Yeah.
It's the gay disease.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't really until it started affecting, people with blood transfusions and things like that they started doing anything to act on it.
Well, but even then, all that did was further vilify gay people too, though. It's not
exactly.
It's not like they're like, "Oh, we were wrong to call it this." It was just like, "Oh, here's another reason to hate them."
Yeah. And so, of course, that caused more and more activism for the good people. And it was really the activism of different groups, but a group called ACT UP was one of them that was fighting for, the government to do anything about the AIDS crisis. And it's really a lot of what they did and a lot of what other organizations like that did to get it to where, the government was acting and eventually did something. Basically Reagan's whole presidency, though, he doesn't care about it at all.
Well, he was working on Star Wars, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Defense.
Yeah. It continues on, and it keeps continuing on today. We saw in 2008 with Prop 8, we saw just how many churches just spent millions of dollars to fight against people's right to get married.
Yep.
Yeah. And the reaction after legalization with people like Kim Davis and other activists like that, trying to do anything they can to fight it. And I mean, it seems like they're starting to realize they've lost this battle. So that's nice. That's not going to stop them from fighting other things and in some ways fighting homosexuality and any sort of rights that they can infringe. Mm-hmm. For example, right now with the fighting of the Equality Act.
Right. Yeah.
And how do you think as a person you're going to go down in history fighting something called the Equality Act?
Well, I mean, that's one of those things too, that their argument would be it's the same way, why, unlike the other side, they create things like the Freedom Act or, the Patriot Act, right? These aren't things that equal freedom or patriotism. If anything, they're taking away your rights. Or this perceived idea of it, right? So they're looking at it in that way. It's just well, it's taking away our rights.
Yeah.
So it's this weird. It's just a gross naming thing.
Yeah, it really is.
But then they're taking it and they're going to say this is why it's good. It is inequality. I don't know if that's true, bud.
Yeah, I don't know. And there was actually a bill in California. I actually don't know the status of it, outlawing conversion therapy. And a lot of pastors were upset about that because it outlawed pastors from telling people that they're broken and need to be fixed.
Yeah, because they're wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong, and that's incredibly damaging to a kid.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that should be illegal in my opinion, but
Well, that's, it's funny, like you're saying, like a lot of them, they're realizing that they kind of lost that battle and they're going back on it. It feels like when corporations are like, we love gay people now.
Yeah.
Pride Month, they put the flag up and they're like, we love you, we love like the LGBTQ plus community and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't care about any of them. In fact, a lot of these corporations actively fought against them, and now it's just like, well, we want to be cool and we want to, we want your money, and that's the same with the churches, right? We want your money. It's all fucking optics with these.
Oh yeah, and a lot of those corporations too are giving money to right-wing organizations and anti-gay organizations while they put a rainbow flag on their cookie or whatever.
Well, that's the big thing too. It's like in the States and Canada, like in general, I mean, we need to take corporations out of politics. We need to fucking tax the rich people appropriately. Yep. I mean, I was just seeing a thing that I think it was saying something that the amount of money that Jeff Bezos made in like the last 10 years was like $16 billion, and he was taxed less than 1% of that. And yet the average person was taxed like way more than that. Like, it's
Jesus
insane.
Christ.
And then you figure all the churches aren't taxed, all that stuff. Like, think about how much additional revenue could be coming in that could actually help people. Like, it would solve the healthcare crisis. It would make sure that a lot of like basic infrastructure is going around. We could feed in home and mental health facilities for the homeless, and foster children and addiction centers and mental health. All that shit could be taken care of if these people were appropriately taxed and appropriately held accountable and weren't allowed to just dump millions of dollars to get their causes pushed in the politics area. But no. It's, you're getting a payday. It doesn't matter. Fuck everyone else. I got to get mine.
And you still have a bunch of hate groups kicking around.
Of course.
Yeah. And they always disguise themselves as like family, protecting the family or whatever. Like 1 Million Moms is a joke. Like it's right. I mean, it'd be a funnier joke if they weren't a hate group, but like their methods are so stupid and they're so bad at it, but they also make the news because they're so bad at it. And like, I used a clip of them fighting against Toy Story 4 because they showed a couple in the background, a same-sex couple in the background hugging their kid. And they also fought against DuckTales because there was gay dads, and they fought against Target for having Ellen as their spokesperson, which I agree now. Ellen seems like not the nicest person, but I don't think that's why. I don't think it's rude.
Yeah. I mean, being a nice person and being a hateful, like immoral, bigoted person is very different.
Yeah, exactly. Like I probably won't watch Ellen, but I didn't before either. So
yeah, I wasn't a big fan, but I don't. You know what? Her not being nice is not necessarily a reason to be canceled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, maybe trying to be nicer, but again,
it comes back to what I said. They don't care about the kids.
No, they don't.
That's not what it is at all.
Yeah.
It's an excuse to push their hatred and their belief systems. That's all it is.
Exactly. And now there's so much, the fight is against trans rights. And this last year was in the States was like record breaking for the amount of anti-trans bills that were introduced into state houses. Most of them are written by Christian right-wing groups and just given to the congressman to be like, or the state representatives to be like, here, introduce this.
It's funny because to them, it almost seems like this is some unstoppable wave. Like it's like a pandemic even, right? Something that affects the whole world, and everywhere you go it's popping up and causing these problems and hurting people and killing people, kind of like a pandemic almost. And you know what, unlike the actual pandemic that most of these laws and lawmakers didn't really give a shit about for a very long time, it's actually popping up and killing people, like a pandemic, instead of this thing that is a very small minority of people who are just trying to live their lives and just want to be treated like people. like the people that they deserve to be treated like, and just to be.
Yeah.
But no. We gotta say how they're invading our schools and our bathrooms, and they're gonna. It's disgusting, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
I hate it. And yeah, I mean, I've had people comment on the YouTube thing too about, oh yeah, so you just want these like butch men pretending to be women in sports? Is that what you want? And it's like, these bills are for kids, and like kids sports are supposed to be about community and stuff. We can have a separate conversation about like the Olympics.
Again,
yeah.
That's another thing too. That is such an inconsequentially small, like almost never happens thing.
Yeah.
Anyway. Like, why even bring that up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like this. Yeah. Kids sports are about community and about building their self-esteem and about building their self-worth. And then all of a sudden you're just going to tell them that, oh yeah, you're not who you identify as, and you have to go play with these people. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that people like there's this pastor called Scott Lively, and there's churches like International House of Prayer and missions groups and stuff from all these different organizations that have spread this hate around the world. And things like the bill, like in Uganda, the death penalty for homosexuality and things like that, all come from North American evangelical Christians spreading this hate.
Oh yeah. There's another reason to hate fucking missions trips.
Yeah.
Let's go build a school and spread hate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Any other thoughts on homophobia?
If you're a homophobe, no, I don't know. I was gonna say, if you're a homophobe, fuck you.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. I was talking to my brother the other day about this asshole we knew. I was like, fuck that guy. And I was like, you know what? Fucking is pleasurable. Unfuck that guy forever.
That's fair. I think, you know what? It's one of those things too. Like, I think so many people are they're uncomfortable with it because they don't understand it. They're not really exposed to it. And it's so easy to get stuck in those small bubbles and just not actually meet the people who you're hating, right? And in that case, like any of the few times where they do, they never really meet those people. They're just expressing their views onto them and then reacting to those rather than actually getting to understand somebody or know somebody. They're never exposed to these things in real life.
Yeah.
And I think I think if most of these people were genuinely to, have a conversation with some of these people, they might step back a little bit and kind of re-examine where this hatred comes from. I hope.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if everyone would, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's I think that just, sometimes you need to get out of your bubble a little bit,
I think so. Yeah.
And just talk to people.
It's kind of like what I said earlier, where it's like you have the hate first, and then you find the justification. And for me, in a lot of ways, I realized that I couldn't hate people just based on who they are, and I couldn't be in an organization that hated people based on who they are. And I think, we have to. And at first, that just meant I changed churches and I went to an LGBTQ affirming church. But eventually, it was like, but I'm still in this group that I can't justify saying that I'm a part of this group anymore because they're hateful bigots. And I think another thing too is we just have to keep challenging people on their beliefs and on their homophobia.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there are tons of people within the church and just everyday people who are supportive and are, open and understand that these are people too.
Yeah.
So all we can hope is that, there are more of those people who are standing up for the other people's rights and helping them and being there and, doing something positive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, should we move on to some Patreon thank yous?
Yeah, let's say thank you.
Oh my God! Wow! Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Bible study. We're going to start soon. We're going to talk about when David had to get a bunch of foreskins for Saul and how that applies to our lives today. But
you know what? I got to say, Trev, it has been something that has been coming up more and more often than you would think. So thank you so much for bringing that up. And
yes.
I can't wait till we can delve deeper into that.
It's true today as it was when it was written.
Yep.
But first, let's thank a couple people.
Right. So we would like to thank today our good friends, Amy, Bernice, and Lee. Thank you guys so very much.
And I just have a quick prayer request for Zachary. Since things are opening up a little bit more, we've been able to see, people a little bit more, still with caution, but Zachary's been really trying to get people to do some ultimate frisbee with him. And which is nice, and we're really glad that you wanted to spend time with us. But no, dude, we're not doing the frisbee. We're not going to toss that disc with you.
Yeah, sorry, Zachary. Just nobody likes ultimate frisbee anymore.
Yeah,
it's just we've moved on.
But yeah, so we just lift up Zachary today, and have everybody, if everybody can lift up Zachary. Anyways, where we were. David said, actually, what I'll do is I'll get you 200 Philistine foreskins. But should we do a Christian rock lyric?
Let's do it. Let's listen to some rock and or roll music.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
Here I am, Christian rock, you like a Jesus cane.
Oh, nice.
Or candy cane, I guess. Because isn't it a J?
That's true.
Is that true? I don't know.
No, that's a Christian myth. This song's a little different, Damien.
Oh,
I think it would still be considered a Christian rock lyric because it somehow got under the Christian rock banner on Apple.
Okay,
and which pissed a lot of people off.
This is fun.
Yeah, so it's by Semler, which is actually Grace Baldridge. Anyways, Grace does this show called Saving Grace, something like that. What was it? But she goes around and interviews Christians on different topics, or interviews people on different LGBTQ topics, and she's amazing and fantastic. But she recorded an album kind of over the pandemic in her house and released it, and it became the #1 Christian album on iTunes, and which made a lot of people pretty mad. She grew up. The album's called Preacher's Kid. She grew up as a preacher's kid, obviously. And the whole album, it's pretty much just like a criticism of the church, criticism of Christian culture, things like that.
Let's hear these lyrics. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, this song's called Jesus from Texas. My mom turned 18 in the 1960s, and she doesn't remember Stonewall. To be fair, she can't have known I'd be her kid, that the bricks launched at the police would compel me to exist. And I think about that now down the ballot of the ones I love and don't know yet. I voted for you. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. And these days, I believe in Bigfoot more than God, because who's he hurting? I grew up a preacher's kid cleaning up after communion, so I know that a church is not a way to live. It's a weekly reunion.
Wow.
Yeah. She's so great.
I'll have to take a listen to this, actually.
Yeah.
This is one of the times where we have a Christian rock lyric that I'm like, okay, let's actually hear what this is.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's such a good album. And I recommend it. That's my recommendation of the week.
Well, and you know what? The fact that it's #1 on the Christian charts is good.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. I mean, that's really great.
Yeah. But listen, me and Damien have a live stream to record. If you want to be part of the next one, join us over at Patreon. Either way, thank you for listening. And again, I'm sorry that we really just touched the surface on this one, but yeah.
It's such a deep and long-standing topic, and one that we truly can't really speak on properly. So again, this is just the surface, and we know that there's so much more. So we'd love to hear other people's stories and from other people who can enlighten us and enlighten everyone else too.
Yeah.
And we look forward to hearing from you guys.
Bye, everybody. We love you.
Bye.
Work, Sky Moon.